What if popularity isn't as fulfilling as we think? Can external validation ever truly satisfy our inner need for authenticity? Is it possible to truly belong without compromising who we are? And if so, how can we cultivate real connections in a world that values image over substance? All of that and more in today's video. Can popularity truly bring us the connection we're desperately seeking? It's an important question, considering how widespread loneliness has become. According to the American Psychiatric Association, 30% of American adults report feeling lonely on a weekly basis. Of all the emotional pains we experience, loneliness often feels like the most suffocating. It's a deep, unrelenting ache that makes us yearn for connection we may feel is constantly out of reach. In our search for relief, we may intuitively expect popularity to be the answer. After all, doesn't popularity promise us the validation and acceptance we crave? But what if the very thing we think will heal us only deepens the pain? We need only examine the lives of celebrities to reveal some unsettling truths. Trevor Noah, for example, has openly shared how his rise to stardom left him struggling with a sense of disconnection, torn between who he truly is and who people expect him to be. In an interview with The Diary of a CEO, linked in the description, Noah reveals that fame, rather than being a dream, is one of the most challenging parts of his career. Quote, "People will never appreciate the beauty and the tranquility that comes with anonymity, the ability to write your story whenever you meet someone. Sometimes we take for granted the ability to rewrite a story from a different perspective because we've moved on. But when you are known and your anonymity is gone, you are now owned by the world. I think it's why so many celebrities and famous people have lived very depressed lives, have lived lives where they're isolated. You'll be shocked at how lonely being well known can actually be." End quote. How might we make sense of this paradox? Why does fame seem to deepen loneliness? To answer, we can turn to Brene Brown's book Braving the Wilderness, wherein she draws a sharp distinction between fitting in and truly belonging. While fitting in requires adapting our identity and behavior to the expectations of others to gain acceptance, true belonging is about being embraced for who we truly are, without the need to compromise our authenticity. Popularity, according to this distinction, is more closely related to fitting in, since its aim is to be as inoffensive and enjoyable to as many people as possible. Yet, is fitting in really the goal we should aim for? Not according to Brown. When we seek validation through performative behaviors out of fear of rejection, we remain unseen for who we truly are, trapped in self-doubt and insecurity. True belonging, by contrast, is more intimate and fulfilling, but it requires the courage to live in alignment with our own values and beliefs, even when it means standing apart from the crowd. Modern psychology affirms Brown's observations. According to Richard Ryan and Edward Deci's self-determination theory, authenticity, the foundation for true belonging, is essential for psychological fulfillment. Why? Because focusing solely on fitting in, a desire driven by extrinsic motivation, makes our sense of self-worth dependent on how others perceive us. When that validation is absent, we experience anxiety and self-doubt, leaving our self-esteem fragile and out of our control. Such disconnection from our true selves can lead to chronic insecurity and stress, especially as we become more focused on appeasing others than living in accordance with our own values. Authenticity, on the other hand, rises from intrinsic motivation, or internal motivations that align with our core beliefs and values. Intrinsic motivations, unlike the desire for social validation, are within our control and are not dependent on the perception of others, establishing our sense of self-esteem upon a more stable foundation. The danger of relying too heavily on external validation goes beyond merely eroding our self-esteem. It threatens to rewrite our very sense of self. The philosopher Karol Wojtyla observes that part of our fundamental dignity, what sets humans apart from other creatures, is our capacity for self-determination and moral choice. We are most human when we shape our identities through actions and choices that arise from our inner will, grounded in moral principles. When we reduce ourselves to merely passive products of external forces, we lose our humanity by enslaving ourselves to the standards of others. Prioritizing approval over authenticity risks self-alienation, causing a fragmentation of the self that distances us from our core beliefs, goals, desires, and values. When this self-alienation becomes severe enough, we eventually lose sight of who we are. Here I'll anticipate a possible objection. This channel has long maintained that humans are by nature social creatures, and that individual flourishing can't be separated from the flourishing of the community. If the social components of human life is so essential, how can I value personal authenticity so highly over conformity to social pressures? Isn't that promoting a form of individualism that I've previously criticized? That's a very valid concern. As the philosopher Alasdair MacIntyre points out, excessive individualism harms both the individual and the common good. A healthy expression of authenticity, one that considers human flourishing holistically, must also recognize our moral responsibility to our community. However, as Wojtyla expands, moral responsibility does not negate or override individuality, but rather balances it. It acknowledges the need for a shared moral framework that emphasizes the common good, while also honoring the intrinsic dignity of every individual. The common good, properly understood, isn't something imposed upon an individual from above. Rather, it collectively arises from within, as part of a shared social commitment to the well-being of others. In this sense, any responsibility to conform to social expectations out of moral concern is balanced by society's responsibility to allow individuality to flourish within objectively reasonable bounds. So then, what is the key to flourishing, if not pursuing popularity? Ultimately, we flourish when we break free ourselves from the chains of external validation. True happiness, or what Greek philosophers like Aristotle called Eudaimonia, is rooted not in fleeting and unreliable external goods, but in internal goods, those cultivated through virtue and rational choices. When we detach ourselves from the need for external approval, we empower ourselves to shape our own happiness through actions aligned with our true nature, independent of others' opinions. While it's true that popularity can offer some positive benefits, such as expanding one's influence to promote change, it should never be sought as an end in itself. Meaningful relationships are not the product merely of fitting in, but rather of having the courage to present ourselves as we truly are to others, allowing others to embrace us authentically. To cultivate that courage, we must reclaim our authenticity by cultivating self-awareness, reconnecting with our true motivations and principles, and committing ourselves to lives devoted to the things we truly value. What do you think? Is popularity conducive or contrary to our flourishing? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified when new videos are released. Also be sure to like this video so that YouTube recommends it to others. If you'd like to support this channel for as little as $1 a month, you can also become a supporter on Patreon. Links in the description of this video. Loneliness may be a difficult burden to bear, but never forget, you have the power to respect your principles and build relationships that honor your true self. Even if vulnerability means facing the possibility of rejection, eventually, if we remain true to our authentic selves and don't lose sight of the features that make us uniquely ourselves, we will discover lasting and meaningful connections with people who love us for who we truly are. Be courageous and sincere. Your voice matters, and I'm happy to walk this journey of self-discovery together with you. Peace be with you. This has been The Philosopher.